Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're very pleased to have you all, and we do hope that you find this session inspiring and hugely useful. My name is Ofra Muflahi. I'm the UK professional lead for the nursing support workforce here at the college, and I'm going to hand over to my wonderful colleague Dennis Greer, who is the chair of the UK Nursing Support Workers Committee, to introduce himself formally. Over to you, Dennis.
Good evening, everyone. As always, I'm Dennis Greer. I am the chair of the Nursing Support Workers Committee, and I'm also the Nursing Support Worker Committee member for the Trade Union Committee for the RCN. I am a health and safety rep and in Omagh Hospital for the Rapid Response Team in Northern Ireland.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I just want to start by saying that we are extremely proud to have the nursing support workforce as part of the membership at the Royal College of Nursing. And the nursing support workforce is a thriving community within the membership, and it obviously includes a wide range of skilled members from across the support workforce, which of course includes a plethora of roles, including healthcare assistants, assistant or associate practitioners, nursing associates and student nursing associates, nursing assistants, maternity support workers, and the list goes on, as you all know, because this is a very diverse group of people from different, certainly, skills across the UK. But today, this webinar is part of a series of online sessions we're running throughout the year, which are tailored to the nursing support workforce. And these events are designed to share information on actually what the RCN offers in terms of support, in terms of resources, and really how you can get involved and be more active within the membership and within the Royal College of Nursing. And we've got a great list of individuals who are going to talk today or this evening. So we've got lots to discuss during today's session. These sessions are also open to non-members, who are very welcome to come along and hear more about what the Royal College of Nursing does. So first of all, we've got Harry Eccles, who is the head of activist engagement and the RCN Activist Academy, who'll be giving you an introduction in relation to the RCN Activism Academy. We've also got Kate Flood, who will be talking about what organising is, and she is part of the organising team here at the Royal College of Nursing. And then, of course, you'll hear from Dennis Greer, our chair of the Nursing Support Worker Committee, who'll be talking about actually what that means out in practice and some of the things that he does, and also Catherine, who will be talking about some of what she does within her role at the Royal College of Nursing. We will hold questions at the end of the session, so please be as interactive as you would like. At the end of the session, we can put you on camera. You can raise your hand so we can see that you've got your hand raised, or you can post questions in the Q&A. But it should be a really interactive session for this evening. And before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that this session is being recorded, and it is promoted on the RCN website and the YouTube channel, and it is actually sent to registered members or registered attendees. So just be aware of the questions that you may want to pose, and also if you're coming on screen, we just kindly remind delegates that you don't disclose any sensitive or confidential information during the webinar. And if there is something that is personal to yourself and your circumstances, your current circumstances, then please do let us know, and we can signpost you to the relevant RCN members and staff members. We'll also be sharing some useful links and QR codes at the end of the session so you can become more engaged with the RCN. So that's enough from me. I'm going to introduce you to Harry now, who's going to talk about the RCN Activism Academy, which is a bit of a mouthful, I think, Harry, but over to you. Thank you so much.
I'm practiced now in saying it all. Thank you very much. Hi everyone. Yeah, my name's Harry Eccles. I'm the head of activist engagement here at the Royal College of Nursing. That's part of the Activism Academy that I'm going to talk a little bit more about with you today. My background, I've been in nursing for about 12 years, and half of that has been as a nursing support worker, as a healthcare assistant in nursing homes, in hospitals, and half of that as a trained nurse. And I'm really glad to come and speak to you today. Our college is made so much stronger by its diversity, and it's also made so much stronger when members take an active role in leading and setting that direction. And that's what really excited. We're in that business at the Activism Academy of how do we go from, you know, being a membership body of 600,000 to really utilising and equipping that strength. And when everybody plays their part, we really can achieve the real change that we need to see in healthcare. So really glad to be with you today. Next slide, please. So when we talk about activism, it's a word that has lots of connotations and lots of lots of different images for different people. It's a word that we've explored a lot with members, a staff body, and the definition that we've come to together is that RCN activism means taking action together to bring about positive change for nursing and our communities. And it's really important that when we say nursing, we mean the whole nursing family, which is nurses, student nurses, nursing support workers. We're also really privileged that midwives play part of that role as well. But it is that idea about doing something together. Sometimes when we're on our own and we see the difficulties we face in our work settings, we feel a bit overwhelmed, a bit hopeless. But actually, when we come together, it's quite amazing the change that we can do. So that's what we mean when we say activism, and that can be in so many different ways. And we're going to explore a little bit more about those different ways today. Next slide, please. So what is our purpose? So our purpose is to drive transformation in the number and impact of RCN members' activism. So we want to see activism that is meaningful and that's impactful and that's really delivering wins for our members. So that's about enabling a supportive culture and environment where members can become active and make change as the RCN with meaningful and inclusive member structures. So a place where members can get involved and want to get involved and can actually see fruits of their labour for getting involved. We want to use the organising approach, which Kate's going to talk to us a little bit more in a moment, so that RCN members, wherever they are influential in the decisions that shape the experience of the workforce and the profession. And that's really, really key, because it's members like yourselves who are on the front line of this, living it day in, day out. It should be members such as yourselves who are influential in shaping those decisions that are made about you as well. And our final aspect is that we want to deliver learning and development for RCN activists that provides a thorough grounding in their role and also offers opportunities for developing, excelling and leading as active members. So that's about empowering you and equipping you with the tools and resources that you need to really progress in that activism. So it's about having the opportunity to get involved in an environment that's kind of conducive to getting involved, being able to have the skills so that you can actually win and see change in the area you're involved, and being given the skills that you need to do so. Next slide, please. So we've been working on an activism strategy that launched 2 days ago. It's live on the website, and I'm sure someone will be able to chuck a link in a moment. If not, I'll do it shortly. But basically, which pads out a little bit of this in more information. But our vision is that RCN members are organising for change, are influential in their workplaces, are driving change within the nursing profession, empowered to stand up for inclusion, and a skilled and informed community. So that's where members are able to campaign on issues that matter to them and win. That's where members are leading in their workplaces using the nursing workforce standards, or be that as a rep to really make change within those workplace settings. It's delivering change on a national scale and within specialities. We've got lots of members on the call tonight, and I'm sure you'll all work in various different areas. My background was drug and alcohol, and I think it's important that members are able to drive change in that wider body of work that we do that contributes to clinical specialities, for example. Empowered to stand up for inclusion is a really, really big one. Sadly, we're in a political context where we're starting to see some quite nasty rhetoric and division. And as a really broad church, as the nursing family, we know that actually our strength lies in our diversity. And it's something that we need to really stand for and protect as well. And we also want to make sure that members are a skilled, informed community so that we have the resources to really develop members, but also to excel, because of the members that are joining today are the leaders of tomorrow. So it's about making sure we have those skills and resources to do that. Thank you. And I think I'm going to hand over to Kate, who's going to talk a little bit more about organising.
Hi everyone, I'm Kate Flood. I'm one of the UK organisers of an organising team, and that sits within the Activism Academy at the Royal College of Nursing. I previously worked in the NHS as an employment advisor and advocate, and I've been a trade unionist for my entire working life. And I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of organising, and I'll be here to answer questions at the end of this webinar, but I'll also share my contact details if you think of any questions later on. Next slide, please. So first off, what is organising? Organising in the workplace is an active, strategic approach to building union power, and this means strengthening the visibility, influence and presence of the union in the workplace, and by extension, strengthening the power of union members as a collective. Organising your workplace is essentially built upon three fundamental pillars. The first is identifying widespread or collective issues that will activate members or potential members of a union. This could be anything from car parking to pay disparity to workplace culture. Second, it's about working with colleagues to harness and build on collective power and exert influence, build power as a collective and win demands. And then third, it's about building member-led structures within your workplace and within your union to win this positive change. Harry, Dennis and Catherine will each speak to some of these structures that you as members can develop and engage with shortly. Next slide, please. So there are two main models of trade unionism, which is the service model and the organising model. And you likely have at least some familiarity with both, as RCN uses each of these in different ways. So the service model works in a similar way to an insurance policy. The union provides a service to members in exchange for your dues, and these are services such as workplace representation or legal advice. Elected officials and paid staff will act for union members. And the service model trade union's approach is an advocacy approach, where members will defer actions and power to the union as a separate entity to its members. Servicing is generally a more passive form of union membership, in that members often tend to engage with the union when they need individual representation. And in turn, the union is seen as an other. The union lacks power, influence and visibility in the workplace when servicing alone is used by a union. However, organising model, this is where members like yourselves take the lead and act for yourselves. So members lead this change. And using a strategic approach, members will build long-term structures that exist beyond a particular workplace or beyond a particular dispute. So, for instance, you might build key activists on every single ward and then have regular branch meetings that don't just happen during, say, a pay consultation, but happen regularly, both in peacetime and in crisis. And members will identify issues themselves and work together collectively with the support of union officials where necessary. So members will recognise that they, which is you, are the union. Members secure their own victories and on their own terms. And most unions in the UK utilise a combination of both models. So the organising model will see reps also taking on some of the servicing actions, such as representing their colleagues at meetings or attending negotiations. Members are skilled up in their rights and responsibilities as union members, but as also organised workers. And organised members do not see issues and think, who is going to fix this for me? Organised members see issues through the lens of, what does this mean for the collective and what are we going to do about it? Because your strength and your power is in numbers. Next slide, please. So why organise? Because organising is about building and redistributing power in the workplace. And to do this, you need to know where members are, where potential members are. Member power is in its numbers, and power comes from the collective. So one member shouting as one voice is far less powerful than 10, 100, 1,000 members shouting as one voice. And the more members are active and engaged with the union, the stronger and more powerful you are as a union. It doesn't matter if 80, 90, 100% of your colleagues are union members. Even with a high membership density, if only a minority of union members are prepared to get involved, to organise their workplace and to get active, the union will still be weak. And organising your workplace is important because it's not enough to simply join a union. Union members, you need to be prepared to act, to lead change and to deliver victories on your own terms. Next slide, please. So when you're thinking about the organising model at work, think about, your workplace, get that image in your head. Workplace organising identifies collective issues and turns them into organising issues. And this means looking at issues at work and seeing their impact on the collective. These issues are then used to activate fellow union members and to bring new members into the union. They're an agitation tool. And this is how you turn a collective impact into a collective response. So an organising issue is always widely felt. It's an issue that affects most or all of a group of members or colleagues. It could be anything, as I said, from car parking to low pay to issues around workplace culture. But an organising issue is also deeply felt. And this is an issue that members, colleagues feel strongly about and want to change. Organising around issues means speaking to colleagues and finding out what people care about, but also what they're prepared to do about it. And an organising opportunity also needs to be winnable. So in the most cursory terms, this means identifying who has the power to make decisions, who has the power to make changes, and whether you as members can condense your collective power to pressure those decision makers, those people who make those decisions to do that. What are you prepared to do about it? And which of your fellow members are standing right there with you? And I want you to think quickly about your own workplace and any issues that might be going on there. Think about who else those issues might impact and who do you think you could count on to show up, and keep those names in mind, because the next question is, next slide please, where do you begin organising? So first, you tell your union officials that that is what you're going to do and you call on them to support you wherever you need it. I'm going to put my contact details in the chat later on, but that is what the organising team and the Activism Academy more broadly are here for. And this isn't an exhaustive list of how the organising team can support you as members to organise in your own workplaces, or the only ways that you can build a campaign or a dispute, but some of our key work will include supporting you as members to recognise that you are the union. You need to act and you need to take ownership, but you also need to take your lead. You are the ones who know your workplace better than anyone else. As the rank and file, you are the experts. And we're also working with members to identify workplace issues and collectivise demands in a strategic way. So it's not enough just to say, I'm unhappy with this, let's go and tell the employer. You build a campaign, you use tactics, you develop key contacts and activists, including reps in every workplace, to ensure that every member in every workplace is active and engaging with the union. We can also support members to hone their skills in areas such as persuasive conversations to onboard colleagues into getting active with the union, workplace mapping to gather and analyse data about union membership and activity in your workplace. Where are things happening? Where is nothing happening? And from there, organising team and the broader Activist Academy can support you as members to plan and build viable and winnable campaigns. We can also support you to take action using tactics such as collective letters, demonstrations, industrial action, up to and including strike action. And from there, building winnable strategic campaigns to achieve positive member-led changes at work. One very exciting upcoming project is the Workplace Teams pilot. And members who successfully applied to this pilot will be supported by the organising team in your own workplaces to build a workplace team that develops a campaign around one of these organising issues. Part of this programme involves a training session. This is about 6 to 7 sessions that teaches members about, for instance, persuasive conversations, workplace mapping, campaign building, the bread and butter of organising work. And it might be that you or someone in your workplace has applied to be on the pilot. And if that is the case, and if you are successful, please do jump right in, get involved, because we want to see every workplace organised and poised to move whenever duty calls. Next slide, please. So if you're ready to begin thinking about organising, which I hope you all are, because that's why you're here, you can drop me an email if you want to talk about any aspect of organising. I'll also put my email address in the chat, and I'm always happy to talk shop. There is a generic organising email address too, which I will put in the chat too. And you can also speak to your reps, regional officers, or even fellow colleagues who can link you in with an organiser. And it's important to remember that in the workplace, no member is an island. If an issue is bothering you, it will be bothering someone else. And if an issue impacts you, then it will be impacting someone else. So the most important conversation you can have next after this webinar is with your colleagues. Think back to the workplace issues you held in your head earlier. Think about who this impacts and then speak to them. Find out what the widely felt issues are. Discuss what you're willing to do about it. Because as members, you are the union, and the strength of the Royal College of Nursing is entirely down to you. And I'm going to ask everyone here today to make a pledge to speak to one colleague this week. That might be explained to a fellow nursing support worker, but yes, they are eligible to join the RCN. It might be talking about low pay and whether you want to fight it, but you, as the rank and file on the shop floor, know best. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about your workplace issues and what you're up for doing about them. If you have any questions, I'll be here for the Q&A at the end of this session. Feel free to ask them in the Q&A section in the meantime. And over to Harry.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. That's awesome. Can we go to the next slide, please? So we're going to, in a moment, talk to two of our fantastic member leaders in this area, Dennis and Catherine. But before we do that, I just want to introduce a little overview of some of the ways that you can get involved. Next slide, please. So there's a couple of different ways, and Catherine and Dennis will be able to speak to these through their own experience and own journey in a moment. But some of the amazing ways you can get involved are through governance positions. So that's representing your colleagues at a regional level and connecting into national committees. So there's a nursing support worker committee, which Dennis will be able to tell us a little bit more about in a moment. There is being a rep in the workplace. So a representative is someone who represents their colleagues and their members, and that could be in matters of health and safety, in matters of learning and development, and also in matters of disciplinary or workplace issues. There are the workforce standards, which are an amazing way to influence change in your workplace, which again, you're going to hear a little bit more about in a moment. There's professional forums, which connect you into a speciality across the whole UK. So that's looking at developing to that professional knowledge of being part of that process. There's your local branches, which is about how you kind of connect in workplaces across an area. And there's also loads of different campaigns going on. And one that we have at the moment, for example, if we go on to the next slide, please, is the NHS pay consultation in Wales and England that is launching on the 9th, so next week. And we're asking if you're in England or Wales to sign up as a voting volunteer. We'll send you resources, we'll connect you with other voting volunteers, and we'll help get a really good turnout to make sure that that voice of nursing is heard really loud and clear. So that's just one example of one way you can get involved at the moment to make a real difference. But what I'd like to do next is we'll start with Dennis, please, if that's okay, and we'll go to the next slide, just to tell us a little bit about your experience of being active and getting active within the RCN.
Hi, everyone. So my journey started in 2014 when I started training as a health and safety rep. It was quite daunting because in the classroom I was in was all staff nurses, and I was the only senior nursing assistant. Then I was approached to join the RCN's Nursing Support Workers Committee, and I was vice chair for 4 years. And then I went on to the Trade Union Committee, and I'm still on the Nursing Support Workers Committee as chair, but I have completed now 11 years. One thing I wanted to spell at the start off is a lot of our nursing support workers feel that they can't join the RCN. They think it's a nurse-led organisation. We need to dispel that myth because we have the thing called the Nursing Support Workers Day. And I think when it started, I think Ofra can confirm this for me, we had about 15,000 members. Now I think we're sitting over 40. And it's because of the voice of the nursing support worker that has increased that number. We are a force now to be reckoned with. Being a health and safety rep, I have to say, is probably one of the most rewarding things I have to do at work. And I'm the only health and safety rep between 2 hospitals in Northern Ireland, Omagh Hospital and Enniskillen. So you can imagine my workload would be quite hectic. But there's nothing more satisfying as you're going into a workplace to make a difference and to make a change, to help your colleagues, and to make it a more safe environment for them to work in. it could be such simple things. I mean, it could be a light that's not working and your staff on at night can't see something in the office. Just simple things. A couple of weeks ago, we had our nursing students who were had passes to get out the doors, but they wouldn't let them into the car parks for the staff. They had to walk 15 minutes to the public car park at 1 o'clock in the morning. I went to management and I told them that the health and safety issues here were to be addressed, and this had to change. And they listened to me, and they had all the hospital passes changed, that all these student nurses who were on late at night could park in the staff car park right beside the front doors, which is great. So I go on to the Nursing Support Workers Committee. So as I say, I am chair of it. Just recently, I took up post in January there as the chair, and I could see some of our members are online here tonight as well. We're made up of nursing support workers from all 4 regions of Great Britain, and it's Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England. An amazing bunch of people. I have to say it's a privilege to work with them. They are there to make a difference, and they do make a difference, and they make a change for nursing support workers. Things such as like registration of nursing support workers, pay, trade union committee, when I say I sit on as well, we are dealing with the pay situation, especially for Northern Ireland. You know, we are still haven't heard anything about pay, but it's only from collaborative work with our nurse support workers and our unions that we will make a difference. We don't have enough nursing support workers as reps, and I know a lot of people would be afraid to go and do this, but I can assure you it is the most rewarding thing to do. I have to say I've really enjoyed myself. As I say, this will be my last year on this committee, but as a health and safety rep, I will still be doing that. I have had the privilege of going to Romania last year as a nursing support worker to represent the RCN. Myself then and Kevin Morley, who was previous chair, him and I went to Madrid to an IPSU conference for nursing support workers. And we did make such a difference that other countries were following up on Nursing Support Workers Day, as Ofra can contest to. And that was a great success for us. So I basically would like to see more nursing support workers joining the organisation and taking up role as reps, because only through more members can we become stronger. And our union is only as stronger as our membership is. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. Catherine, would you be able to come in and tell us a little bit about your journey into getting active and being active?
Yeah, so I am at the moment, I'm a clinical trials assistant, so I'm a band 4 support worker in the RCN. Well, so far my entire RCN career has been, oh, Catherine will enjoy that. Yeah, okay. I don't think I've actually volunteered for anything myself. I've been volunteered. I started out as a voting volunteer during the industrial action. I was a member of my strike committee, so helping to keep my trust safe. And then it was suggested that I become a rep since I enjoyed being on the strike committee so much. So I signed up to become a steward, which I've been doing for 2 years now. I'm also a nursing support nursing standards workforce champion, or whatever it's called. I'm one of those, which I've been doing for 3 months. And as part of that, I helped to come up with a system of accreditation for our wards and the way that they're run, so they can get gold, silver or bronze depending on the criteria that they meet. And we do assessments of those every few months. And I think so far we've got 2 gold and quite a lot of silver and bronze. I spend quite a lot of time trying to recruit other reps from the nursing support workforce in my trust. We have monthly recruitment sessions for the RCN, which we have 3 hospital sites in our trust, and we alternate between the 3. And I found that on Friday, which was our last recruitment session, we actually have got a banner for nursing support workers, which I'd never seen before, so that was quite nice. And so in terms of what I actually do, I represent members in cases like I do a lot of sickness cases. I have done capability cases. I've done ones about reorganisation within the trust. There's all kinds of different things that I'm part of. I'm also very active on our staff side committee. So any big changes that are happening in the trust, they come to staff side first, and we get to discuss them. So yeah, it's a surprisingly varied role actually. It's well worth it. It's a really good experience.
That's really great to hear. Thank you so much, Catherine. As you can hear, so many different ways to get involved, and it adds so much, I think, to what your own experience, but also the experience you gain in working with other activists. So thank you very much to Dennis and Catherine. And I believe, is that back to you, Ofra, I think.
Yes, thanks so much, Catherine, Dennis and Harry. It's now over to the audience. We're going to take some questions. So this is your opportunity to come forward and ask questions. You can raise your hand or post questions in the Q&A. I just want to say a huge thanks to all of the presenters and the presentations, but also to others behind the scenes who have been helping behind the scenes and putting this webinar together. So it's over to you really to ask any questions you may have around activism and organising at the RCN. And just a gentle reminder again to say that this session is being recorded, so please be mindful if there's any sensitive or confidential information that you may share. So I'm going to have a look in the chat. Just bear with me. Please do raise your hand if you would like to ask a question, and we can put the camera and the microphone on. Can't see any hands. Any questions? So, okay, so I have a question, if I may, to Catherine, if you're still there, Catherine. Just thinking about what you said, Catherine, around, I think you said that your colleague said, oh, Catherine would be really good at that, and she would be a great advocate for that. What is it that you would say makes a really great activist?
I think probably the most important thing is not being afraid to speak up, not being afraid of what might happen if you speak up, because I know a lot of, particularly nursing support workers that I know are sort of, oh no, I could never do what you do because I'd be too afraid that I'd get in trouble or something would happen or I'd lose my job or that kind of thing. That's not going to happen. You've got the backing of the union. We get given facilities time, so we're actually take time away from what our job is to do this. And it's made me learn about the way that the trust works, which has actually made me a better worker within the trust. And you know, I can now spot when things are happening that shouldn't be, and sort of give a nudge to staff side and say, did you know that's happening? And yeah, it's just, you know, it's doing this role has given me a lot of confidence, because I've had a tough few years in the job that I do, with various behavioural problems from other people and things like that. And knowing that I had this to fall back on kept me confident. And actually, it's, hate to say it, but it's made me a little bit gobby. So yeah, it's just, you know, I think the most important thing is not being afraid to speak up. And if you know that you've got the right thing, the right information behind you, then you can absolutely make a difference. So
that's great. Thanks so much, Catherine. I can't see any questions unless my colleagues tell me otherwise in the Q&A or in the chat. So I will ask Dennis, before I come to you, Kevin, Dennis, I think you said you've been a proactive member of the Royal College of Nursing since, if I heard rightly, since 2011. Is that correct? Did you say that 2011, Dennis?
2014.
2014. So what is it that really keeps you going, and what advice would you give to anybody who potentially may feel a bit nervous about getting involved in the RCN?
Firstly, I would say don't be afraid to get involved with the RCN. I have to admit, at the start, I was petrified going to any meetings or any study days, because you feel it, because you're a nursing support worker, you don't have a voice. We've dispelled that myth because we do have a voice. I have to say, health and safety, doing health and safety, I was a steward as well, but because of workload and stuff like that, I just went down into being a health and safety rep. And I think you build up a rapport with people within the workplace. And I think it was Kate was saying about building relationship with people, contacts. I'm a band 3, and you have people like, you have ward sisters, you have managers coming to you looking for advice on health and safety issues. When I first started nursing 25 years ago, that would never have happened. Now it's a game changer. So I would say to anyone who wants to join the RCN, please do. Please become involved in your branch as well, because it's your branch where you'll get all your contacts. I've been a strike official as well when we were on strike in Northern Ireland, and you've got, we call it MLAs over here, the politicians, and they're coming to speak to you on behalf of the RCN on issues that matter to our members, which could be pay, working conditions, corridor care is another big thing, and that involves health and safety reps as well. But I would say to anyone who's thinking about it, just don't think about it. Just go and join.
Thanks, Dennis. That's really great advice. Thank you so much. I think, Kevin, you have your hand up. Please feel free to come on camera and ask your question. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, everyone. I was listening to Catherine as well, and isn't it, I've got that worry and concern that, becoming an activist will be like, you imagine those people who are very kind of disruptive, chaining themselves, and we're not focusing on the care of the patients, but we're focusing on other external issues. And my concern is that, that it might feel a bit scary, but also isn't it maybe a distraction of that we're there to look for the patients and to care for them, and yeah, in that kind of respect.
Okay,
thanks.
so thank you so much, Kevin. So your question is around how do you strike that balance between the activism and ensuring patient safety. So I'm going to bring Harry in to answer that question, if that's possible. Harry, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, sure. That's a fantastic question. I mean, I think it comes down to what is activism and what does it mean? Since I've come into this role, it's been really interesting looking back through the history of where nursing is and why it's where it is. So for example, when nursing, it never used to be recognised as a profession until a group of nurses said that is not okay, just because it's largely female, kind of seen as something domestic, not professionalised. I said that's not okay. This is about safety and patients, and they fought and they got it a recognised profession. There's then this evolution and this thread that runs through it, which is amazing. People coming together and saying, actually, no, that's not okay. We need to do better because we deserve it as nurses, but also because our patients need it. And what we've seen is a profession grow in strength, and that's in recognition through professionalisation, registration, through the education that's now given, through working conditions, through all those things that make the profession what it is today. We didn't have a Royal College of Nursing until 1916, and Sarah Swift and others got together and said, we need to do something about this. I also think it's one of those professions where we intersect with humanity in a way like no other. So my background is working in drug and alcohol. So when things come up around like criminalisation laws and things like that, we're in quite a unique position to actually explain to decision makers how this affects people, and we have a responsibility with that. There was an amazing nurse activist called Athis Hutt and Thora Silverthorne. They were a duo, and they quickly realised that actually what they were doing was treating people with conditions like TB and asthma, then sending them back to poor housing conditions. And they saw this cycle, and they were like, well, hang on, we need to campaign for better housing because these are our patients that are coming back round. So it's a thread that actually runs through nursing, but it's something that I think we're very comfortable at advocating for patient safety. We're maybe a bit less confident about advocating for ourselves, as in our pain conditions and our colleagues, but I think we're getting a bit better at it. But I think it's about how we own that definition of activism, because there's so many things that will matter to you at different phases throughout your career. There'll be things that matter to you because they matter to your patients. There'll be things that matter to you because they matter to your colleagues and your communities. And actually, the RCN is a massive, broad organisation. And actually, when we come together, we can address those things as they arise in our lives, if that makes sense. So I think for me, the key thing is creating that different definition that works for us and owning it, like being confident, like actually, this is what nursing activism is. This is why we do it. And here's the difference it makes. Let me tell you some stories about how this has made a real improvement in people's lives. So it's a really interesting question, one that we don't necessarily have answers to, but one that I think through dialogue and through exploring it, I'm confident we will find that definition that works for us as a profession and as a college, and that we'll be able to be really proud of and hold on to. So hopefully that helps.
I mean, I'm currently talking to my colleagues that I've been to the Congress as well. I've listened to all the different debates and things like that. So I always kind of share with colleagues what I've done and all the things that I've learned. And I also wanted to know, okay, then what will be the steps then if I want to become nursing support worker rep? Thanks.
Well, yeah, fantastic. I mean, we'll drop the link in the chat, which is the first step is an expression of interest form, which you fill in, goes to your region, and then one of your officers gets in contact and has a bit more of a conversation about it. The things that I'd prompt you to think about would be, there's 3 different types: health and safety reps, so looking at working environments, are they safe, and the well-being of colleagues. A learning rep, which is looking at, have colleagues got access to that learning and development that they need and deserve. And a steward that supports people in matters of kind of workplace issues and representation. They're the 3 types. I'll post a link in the chat that gives you those different types to look at, but also have a chat to people like Dennis and Catherine who've done it and see what their experience is to find the right type for you. But the training's amazing. So I was a health and safety rep myself. So I really always recommend that, because it's such a great way. You have such powerful legislation to get in and access ward areas and to make a difference for people, because health and safety legislation is there for a reason, because it's got such strong backing because it saves so many lives. So actually, when you can use that legislation to make sure health and well-being is recognised in the workplace, it's really powerful. The training that you get I was already quite an active trade unionist, and I was amazed at the level of the training and how it empowered me to feel active. Because one of the things when you're signing up is you think, oh, I don't feel able to do this, but that's okay because you're at the start of the pathway. So exactly like Catherine and Dennis said, it's being all right to give it a go and having that confidence and opening yourself up to that learning process and seeing where it takes you.
And just one more final one towards you, Harry. What kind of language have you heard so far from the current government? I mean, if you don't know any specifics, but just because you mentioned that there has been some kind of a discriminatory language that you have heard recently.
Yeah, so I think it's just a cultural thing like happening back here in Europe, and we're seeing it in America. One of the things that we're really proud of at a college is to champion equality, diversity and inclusion, and that's something that our reps do every day in the workplace. I think often nursing again experiences that in a really feeling way, because we've got so many colleagues that join us internationally, for example, which we would absolutely not be able to provide the care we do without. Seeing changes to the care visas and things and the effects that has, and some of the language that can come sometimes from the far right. And it's about how do we respond to that in a responsible, professional way, but in a way that's really clear that actually we stand for unity and solidarity and not division, and kind of setting that example. And being really proud of that. And Dennis was said Northern Ireland, and there was a big demonstration in Northern Ireland, Stand Up to Racism, and the Belfast branch went and really stood and showed solidarity. And it's really powerful when you see nurses taking action.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for those questions. Really, really useful and helpful. I cannot see any hands. Please do come in if you would like to ask a question or post it in the Q&A. Can't see any questions. Oh, Dennis, you've put your hand up. Please do come in.
Yeah, just as I was saying earlier on about Kevin Morley and I going to Madrid to represent the RCN, and at the end of the conference, they had said they were amazed about how nursing support workers were treated within the organisation, about having the Nursing Support Workers Committee, stewards, reps, Nursing Support Workers Day. We had so much going on for nursing support workers that, as you know, Alfred, that some countries have now taken up the Nursing Support Workers Day. I think Spain is doing theirs next month. Sweden is doing theirs in November or October, something like that. And it just shows you how far we have come as nursing support workers within RCN, that it's heartwarming to see how far we've come, and that we're not just a minority anymore, and that there are so many avenues we can go down. As Harry said, health and safety, stewards, learning reps. The training is, I have to say, is phenomenal, and you do get such an insight into what's going on within the workplace. And it's not just aimed for our membership, it's for our patients as well. It's for their safety as well that we do this. Okay.
That's a really valid point. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dennis. I was in the absence of any hands going up, I was just going to bring Kate in, and you talked about organising, and I just thought, could you give us a more recent example of how that's really worked in the workplace? A practical example for our audience today. Thank you so much, Kate.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm going to give an interesting example where the employer's done a little bit of a U-turn and so the fight continues, because that is the reality of workplace disputes. But I've been supporting for just over, I'd say, 18 months, a group of members, RCN members, at a community trust in Grimsby. Because it's a community trust, it's very hard for these members to get together and build a sense of sort of camaraderie, because there's no one workplace, there's no staff room, everyone's out on visits around the local community. And so there's been a lot of reliance on digital tools in the initial stages of getting this workplace organisation going. But the issue is that they are not on agenda for change. So they deliver outsourced healthcare provision, and they're paid far, far less than the NHS colleagues. That gap has widened even further since the most recent announcement, and the dispute was around pay parity. I actually took industrial action without any organising, and then I came into the dispute after the industrial action wasn't effective because there wasn't any organising done on the ground. And one of the first things we focused on was building key contacts, and Dennis has alluded to this as well, building up those networks within the workplace so that there was no team, no site, no area within this employer where there were members who hadn't been spoken to or who weren't aware of what was going on. And from there, we were able to begin collectivising this anger and frustration about this pay disparity. We began building a campaign on the back of a collective letter that was just signed by RCN members, and with a view to delivering that to the employer. But then other members of staff outside of the nursing workforce saw, well, actually, that will have positive impacts for us too. And other unions saw that, and we got them involved too. And from there, we built this really strong sense of solidarity and camaraderie and strengthened our hand, because collective power, it is ultimately, it's about numbers. And the threat of industrial action, if the employer didn't deliver on their demands, would have brought the whole community trust to a halt if everyone had walked out, and that's what the employer was scared of. So members didn't even need to go as far as going on strike. They delivered a collective letter, and then they showed up en masse to the AGM and demanded that the board answer their questions. And it was fantastic to see the evolution from a group of very, very siloed individual workers now coming together and getting vocal. And I'm not going to say they got leery, because they were still very professional, but they were loud, and they refused to let the board back their demands out the door. And there was standing room only, there were people in the corridors. It was fantastic. And the employer agreed to negotiate, which in the 5 years that this dispute had been running, and I mean years before I got involved, they'd never even agreed to negotiate. And then they agreed that demands are reasonable, and then they agreed to deliver on pay parity. Now, the issue is that they're taking a long time to implement that, and so the dispute does continue, and that is just a reality of organising. You have small wins along the way before the big victory. But the point is, you can start with 1 or 2 workers, 1 or 2 members who are really, really frustrated and really angry, and they can feel like they're on their own, and it just feels impossible. If you speak to the union and get the expertise of union staffers, but refuse to let them take control of a dispute, you're the experts. You can speak to your colleagues. You can build a dispute from there. You can come together collectively, demonstrate your collective power, and then the more people get involved, the more other people who are maybe a little bit nervous feel empowered to get involved too. And you can win big, and things that seem completely impossible and insurmountable on day 1, they've become normalized on day 500, because they've been implemented, and all new workers come in thinking that's the way it's always been. But it's not. It's one through the hard graft of organized workers and activists. And I think it is vital to remember that the nursing workforce is made up of a highly skilled, knowledgeable healthcare professionals. The nursing workforce, you're not martyrs. You're not obligated to accept poor conditions or treatment just because you would do a job that involves caring for others. And all nursing workers are at one point patients themselves too. So come together with your colleagues, push back against things that you consider unfair, collectivise your issues, build that power on the ground, utilise those structures, and we can change the nursing workforce for the better. But it all starts with you.
Thanks so much, Kate. That was a fantastic example, and I think that it's a bit about really not underestimating your influence and your power within the workplace, and having the support from the Royal College of Nursing to do that. And I think the 3 words that came into my head when you were talking was, when you said, small steps, was the patience, the persistence, and the perseverance, because you don't see that until you get to the midpoint or end point, and like you say, the change starts with one person, and then it grows. So that's a fantastic example. Thank you so much. I'm going to offer the audience again to raise their hands or ask any questions if you would like. I'll just give it a couple of seconds. I'm just going to check the Q&A myself and the chat function. I don't see any questions at all in the Q&A or in the chat. So I think I'm going to thank everybody for their contributions this evening, and thank you so much to all of the speakers. Thank you to you all for putting the presentation together. I must thank the people behind the scenes, Abby, Ollie and Will, for their contributions as well. We will be posting QR codes on the topics that we've discussed this evening, and you can also visit our website. I think what I would say to you as a member of the support workforce is certainly some of the key themes or comments that we've heard in today's or this evening's webinar is: don't be afraid. There's so much experience and skill within the workforce, and there is support around you at the Royal College of Nursing should you need it. And if you're not a member of the Royal College of Nursing, there's probably, this is a most important time to become a Royal College of Nursing member and to join and really get involved within the Royal College of Nursing and its membership. We've just had RCN Congress in Liverpool in May, where many debates happened, and our nursing support workforce were part of those discussions and involved and engaged in those discussions, representing the workforce within the membership. So, the Royal College of Nursing, and we are here to empower you, to help you, to assist you, and we're very proud to have you within the membership. So if there's anything you take away from today's webinar, is that you are very welcome within the Royal College of Nursing, and as a nursing support worker or a member of the nursing support workforce, you are absolutely welcome to join the Royal College of Nursing. So on that note, I think we have one more slide. Do we have one more slide? Thank you again. Just some reference slides there for you, and have a good evening, and we'll see you at the next session, hopefully, which is on the 10th of July, and that's going to be about making the most of your membership. So thanks again and have a great evening. Bye bye for now.